Uh, okay, students. Today, let us consider. We are all studying about learning and development, right? So, at the same time, we have also got training and development. So, the question comes as to what is this learning and development? What is this training and development? So today I would like to make some of the things very clear as to how I should say uh, learning and development slowly evolved from training and development. In today's session, we will only consider how learning and development evolved from training and development. In our next session, we will consider exactly what is the difference between training and development and learning and development. Now, to consider the development of the evolution of learning and development from training and development, we need to consider some points very clearly. First of all, there are various factors. One is point number one is the process of globalization. This point we need to consider if we really want to understand how learning and development evolved. So first point we need to consider is the process of globalization. Secondly, we need to consider when it comes to India, the introduction of the new economic policy. That is point number two we need to consider. Thirdly, we need to consider the impact of technology, how technology started developing very rapidly. And fourthly, we need to consider the situation, that is, what is the present state of our world today? How is our today's world? Okay, that is what we call a complex and dynamic world. That is point number four. And point number five, we also need to consider one more factor, that is the role of internet. So, of course, there are many other factors which we need to consider as how the market also involved, how the customer expectations, that is, in other words, how the market expectations started rising, which gave rise to the evolution of learning and development. So, these 4 to 5 points I have taken as a major points for the evolution of learning and development from the function of training and development. Okay, so let us consider these points one by one so that we will have a better idea of how learning and development evolved from training and development. So, to go ahead, let us start. As I mentioned, the first point we need to consider is the point of, that is globalization across the world. So, when you consider in late 80s onwards, the process of globalization started across the globe. All countries started dismantling the trade barriers, because of which there was a free flow of capital throughout the world. Okay, so trade barriers were dismantled. That is called the globalization, the process of globalization, liberalization, and privatization. There is one point we need to consider. Second point, when we come to India as such, India introduced the new economic policy in the year 1991. Earlier to the introduction of the new economic policy in 1991, the condition in India was the Indian economy was a closed and controlled economy. What do you understand by closed and controlled economy? The closed and controlled economy means there was very less competition in India in the markets. You take any segment, you take four wheelers, cars, hardly two to three players, not much of a competition, maybe Fiat or Ambassador. You take two-wheeler segment, that time, that is before 1991, hardly two or three players, maybe Bajaj, Vespa or Lambretta, only two or three, that's all. You take telecom market, there was only one player, the government was the dominant player, that's all. You take the insurance player, only LIC was there. You take the consumer market, that is maybe a soaps market. There are hardly two to three companies available, soaps available that time. So you take any market before the year 1991, that is prior to introduction of the new economic policy, there was no competition. So, along with the process of globalization across the world, India also embarked on the process of new economic policy and globalization. These two factors we need to consider while understanding how slowly learning and development started playing a major role. So, when it comes to the post NEP, that is new economic policy, what happened? Competition increased in all the sectors. You take automobile sector, you take two in the automobile, you take four-wheeler sector, you take two-wheeler sector, or you take consumer durables, insurance sector, telecom sector before the new economic policy, that was before liberalization. The condition was so difficult that to get one local landline connection we had to wait for 3 4 years. But now what is the situation? Within few minutes you will get your own telephone connection. So all these things has led to what? All these things has led to lot of competition. Earlier there was no competition, but now there is lot of competition. Whether you take car manufacturing companies, you take two-wheeler manufacturing companies, you take FMCG, that is fast moving consumer goods, maybe soaps, detergents, or any market. Okay, or you take the telecom sector. There are lot many players today. So you take any sector of the market, lot of competition has increased compared to earlier days. So what was the impact of this competition? Because of the impact of this competition, companies had to struggle a lot to maintain their competitive edge. It was not that easy that only 2 to 3 players are there, and there is no much competition, and whatever products we offer, consumers will expect. That was not the situation post liberalization. So, post liberalization, customers started demanding more and more. Customers started demanding more and more quality. The customers, they want a world class quality. Customers want an excellent customer service. So customers demand started increasing a lot, and also customers started demanding less and less cost. We want more quality, more benefits, less cost. If the company is unable to provide this, the competitive edge of that company cannot be sustained. In the sense, other competitive companies will naturally overtake that particular company. So this is one point I need to stress. The second point that I would like to stress is the rapid development of technology after the 1990s. Technology started developing, but not only developing, developing very fast, very rapidly, I should say. So this led to what we call as a volatile world, a dynamic world, a complex world where there is ambiguity and uncertainties. Though that is why this today's world is called as the VUCA world. It is volatile, uncertain world, characterized by ambiguity and complexity. So in today's world, technology is changing very fast. That means what? Technology is changing very fast. That means today's companies need to learn. Companies means today's employees need to learn the whatever skills required today on a continuous basis. They must be continuously upgrading the skills, the knowledge, the new set of behaviors that are required to do an effective jobs, so that the company is able to maintain its competitive advantage. And to do all these things in an uncertain world, dynamic world, VUCA world, complex, uncertain world, just imparting training for one time or 2 times will not be sufficient, because the technology is changing very rapidly. The companies and the employees need to upgrade their skills, knowledge, all the required competencies on a continuous basis. If this is not done, the companies will be lagging behind. They will be losing their competitive advantage. Because of this is, I should say, one of the major reason why learning and development started taking a center stage, because companies realize that just imparting training for once or twice will not be sufficient, because today's world is such that it is continuously changing world, dynamic world. Technology is developing so fast, and the not only technology, the external conditions. You take the legal environment, you take the social environment, everything is changing very fast, very dynamic, and it is also very complex and unpredictable. Okay, so companies realize that to remain competitive, they need to learn on a continuous basis. Learn means what? They need to upgrade their skills, upgrade their knowledge, and upgrade their new ways of doing things, that is, new behaviors. In a single word, I should say, companies should learn the new competencies on a continuous basis. So the learning should happen on a continuous basis. That is why people say that the day you stop learning, that day you stop living. So companies realize that unless and until we set in place continuous learning and development, that is, unless and until we transform ourselves into learning organization, so our competitive edge cannot be maintained. Okay, one more additional factor to the evolution of learning and development is rapid development of World Wide Web, that is the internet. Internet made one thing very common. Customers had all the information just at their fingertips. They can just click and get each and every information about all the companies, including your competitors. So see how customers became so strong. So markets started demanding more and more. So in this world, to sustain your competitive advantage, it is very, very essential that companies should upgrade their skills, knowledge, be a new set of behaviors. In a single word, you should convert yourself as a learning organization. A learning organization is one which adapts to the changing situations, which will adapt to the changing situations, so that the company's competitive advantage can be maintained. So that is how I can, in short, say how the slowly learning and development became more important, and it slowly evolved from training and development. In our next session, we'll discuss about exactly what is the difference between training and development and learning and development. For so the sake of this session, we have understood the learning and development. I will just revise quickly in a few seconds what are the important factors which are responsible for the slow evolution of learning and development. First point, the economic changes, that is a process of globalization across the world. So trade barriers were dismantled. There was a free flow of capital across the world. So companies can move from one country to another. So competition enhanced. Point number one. Point number two, when it comes to India, India introduced a new economic policy in 1991. Earlier, Indian economy is a closed and controlled economy. So when new economic policy was introduced in 1991, a lot of foreign players came into existence, lot of even Indian private players. This again led to the lot of competition in the market. And thirdly, rapid development of technology. Technology started developing very fast. Earlier, we used to see development of technology once in 5 years or 10 years, but now technology started so fast. Every month, every 2 months, nowadays it's continuously changing. So the impact of technology, and in addition to this, the evolution of the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguity. This world is very dynamic. So companies realize that we need to learn our skills, new knowledge, new set of behaviors to do our job effectively on a continuous basis. And lastly, the introduction of the internet. Customers got a lot of power in their hands. So customers started demanding more and more. You give us more benefits, more world-class quality, more benefits, at the same time less cost. So all these things led to a lot of competition, and companies realize that unless we learn on a continuous basis and transform ourselves into a learning organization, continuously learning and adapting to the changing world, we will lose our competitiveness. That is how learning and development evolved slowly from training and development. Okay, thank you very much.